Hello my fellow humans. I'd like to introduce you to my Patreon page. It has extra videos that you will never see on YouTube and series that will also be exclusive to Patreon. If you would like to burn your eyes out watching even more videos, go to the link in my description. Thank you for your time.
Girl, let me take you out tonight. I know this little spot downtown. We'll go and get that dress you like. See, baby, you deserve the crown, but I know that you ain't trying to give your heart away. That's okay. I'm not really here for that right now. Let's just have a good time. So, baby, we can quit with all that bullshit. I don't really care. We can cool it. I won't end up wasting your time. Oh, my. So listen, we came here to party. Yeah, I wanna hurt nobody. I won't end up wasting your time. Oh, my. Listen, we gotta be sorry. Not we gotta tell nobody. I won't end up wasting your time.
The first two sins of this video are both cringy sexual jokes that aren't funny. Cliche.
I'm your father, Becca. It's so awesome we're just going to pick up right where the season finale left off. I can't wait to find out what actually occurred after. Damn it! Well, at least they'll get into it later in this episode, right?
I really don't know why you're complaining about this. We do find out what happened later in the season, but apparently it's a problem because we didn't find out immediately? What? So in your mind, every single question that gets raised in a show needs to be answered within seconds of it being raised. That's dumb.
Open laptop's position.
Okay. And why is that a bad thing? Delivering this information visually rather than having the characters involved say it through forced and unnatural dialogue is a good thing. But according to TVSins, conveying information to your audience is always bad no matter what, because not understanding what's happening is good television.
Exactly what casualty allowance are we looking at here?
Officially, 0, of course. But cone of silence, 34%.
Episode teases us with a cone of silence, but episode does not deliver on said cone of silence.
Discount Jeremy makes a very obscure pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
Jason Voorhees.
Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture ref.
Also, that was a huge f***ing explosion, so what the hell is Black Noir's suit made of, and why isn't this portion made of the same stuff?
It's not that the suit is made of something that can resist the explosion, it's that Black Noir himself is strong and durable enough to withstand it and has an increased healing factor. The fact that one side of his body is visibly burnt indicates that the explosion was aimed directly at that side of him, and the other was simply out of the way of the direct explosion.
I have a few final questions about Translucent while we still have the opportunity. Firstly, I know they don't actually have his body, but wouldn't people think it's weird that he's not clothed in the casket? He's dressed in basically every picture and portrait we see, so why not now? Second, also, Lee, why is he always invisible in these pictures and portraits? The public knows what he looks like. He appeared on f***ing Jimmy Fallon, for crying out loud. You don't see anyone else flexing their powers in portraits.
There are two answers for the first question. The first answer is that this show is satirical, and Translucent being naked in his coffin, from the perspective of people who don't know what actually happened to him, fits that. The second answer is that Vought is basically showing off his power even at his funeral, which is essentially a message that their company can't be fucked with. Also, when it comes to his portrait, Translucent's power is one of the only ones that can be showed off in a picture. Maeve's powers aren't exactly visual, just super strength, durability, and such, more or less the same as Black Noir. Starlight literally can't use her powers in front of a camera, as we saw in Season 1, and A-Train has super speed, and cameras can't register an image at that high of a speed. Homelander and the Deep are the only two heroes of the 7 who could potentially show off their powers in a picture, with Homelander's eyes glowing and the Deep maybe having an octopus on his shoulder. But the fact that they don't have those things in their portraits tells us that they didn't want them, which brings me to this question. Why does it matter? Do you actually think the show would be more enjoyable if Homelander had a portrait where his eyes were glowing? Seriously?
I will save you.
Except for apparently not now, because it's more important that Homelander gives a speech at a funeral than ridding the world of terrorists.
But that's not a sin. That's the entire point. Vought is a greedy corporation that doesn't actually care about saving people. They only care about their bottom line. Why are you sitting something that the show explicitly agrees with? You either don't get the point of the show because of your own stupidity, or you do understand it and are simply padding the runtime of the video by saying dumb things.
Out of sight, never out of mind.
This memorabilia feels less like a sign of reverence and respect and more like a dumping ground for rejected translucent jokes from the trash can in the TVSins writer's room. Sorry, we don't actually have a trash can.
He kinda just says all of this bullshit and then expects it to be a legitimate criticism, but it's really not. I mean, translucent memorabilia like this is totally believable given the world that the show has established. As for the I guess for lack of a better word, joke that he made there about the trash can in the TVSins writer's room, it wasn't funny and it was a waste of time.
Really hard. What comes in waves?
The news ticker shows Homelander's "comes in waves" quote the second he speaks it, and the same thing happens when Starlight talks in a few seconds. Now, of course, this is because this is Vought News Channel and it's all scripted, right? But shouldn't Vought want to at least pretend that it's sincere?
Not really. The show has already shown us repeatedly that Vought has tons of diehard fans who won't question anything they do and simply accept everything they say as fact. I wonder if that's a metaphor for anything in a satirical show. Nope, that couldn't possibly be the case.
I can't get a good signal in the Target parking lot, but Huey is somehow able to stream videos with no issue in this f***ing basement.
Well, maybe you should upgrade your provider then, because this isn't unrealistic at all when you have a decent company.
No one will be seated as the episode cuts back and forth between Huey primping and Starlight unprimping in each of their living spaces.
This is the first episode of the season. This scene exists to establish how their respective lives have been going since the events of Season 1, which is totally necessary given the fact that time has passed between then and now. It's baffling to me that someone who watches television for a living somehow can't fathom the simplest concepts of storytelling.
No one followed me down here, and they can't even trace my chip down here.
If subways can get Wi-Fi, Vought should have a way of tracking their most valuable assets down there too.
And here's a misunderstanding of the show. The superheroes are not Vought's most valuable assets.
The point is that you are under a misconception that we are a superhero company. We are not. What we are, really, is a pharmaceutical company. And you are not our most valuable asset. That would be our confidential formula for compound V, which you, man-child that you are, released into the wild.
Besides, where's your evidence for that claim you made? Are you not going to bother backing it up with anything at all? Okay, then why should I accept it?
I saw a really great picture of you at the Teen Choice Awards with, what's his name, Ansel Adams?
Alden Ehrenreich.
Huey seems surprised at Annie's choice of date, but he can hardly expect her to go to this sort of event solo.
Dude, this is more characterization. It fits Huey's character perfectly. Why is that a bad thing? Nobody is perfect. I don't know why you expect TV characters to be perfect.
Splash zones are glorified backyard sprinklers, and they f***ing know it.
Discount Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
You bailed me out? Yeah.
Slightly more useful than Hawkeye bails the Deep out of jail so that he can convince him to join a cult, but couldn't they have nabbed him earlier and saved themselves some cash? And if they're just waiting for him to hit rock bottom, I have to wonder what part of "you're moving to Ohio" didn't trigger that immediately.
Bailing the Deep out of jail puts him in debt to the church. Now that they've saved him, he owes them. It's a very straightforward tactic, but I'm not surprised that you didn't get it.
This movie's tagline is "You can't kill what you can't see," and I would argue that you can, especially if he's clothed in non-invisible clothes and armed with a non-invisible weapon.
But didn't you just say that it's a movie's tagline? It's clearly not meant to be taken at face value. What the fuck?
Also, using this as your Invisible Force tagline instead of, if you see one hero this year, it won't be this one.
Don't you love it when TVSins offers an alternative that's worse than the original? It really nails home the point that they're incapable of telling a decent joke.
Shut your trap, you dumbbad. Or else I'll bollock you. But that's exactly what William Butcher did.
Assuming that bollocksing means blowing someone up with C4 instead of, well, whatever those crazy Brits say bollocksing actually means.
And this is the type of sin that's just designed to waste our time by playing a funny scene from the show and then rattling off a meaningless sentence.
And why was Madeline Stillwell's baby found safe in a yard 17 miles away?
Oh, thank goodness. For a second there, I was worried that I couldn't root for Butcher anymore. Killing a baby is just a step too far compared to indiscriminately killing people with a baby, or his general disregard for anything other than his own murder boner.
Discount Jeremy says boner. Also, what is your issue with characters sometimes being shitty people? Do you think that every single person in the entire world is a good person? How about this guy? Or this guy? They were real people and neither of them were morally good.
Stay here. We're Frenchie's gangbanger friends. The Cots, they got 31 flavors of semen on them.
Baskin-Kins. Also, no judgment, but how does MM know there are 31 distinct flavors?
This is an example of the TVSins writers taking a joke that was funny and then saying something that is not funny in the slightest because they somehow think that being boring equates to being funny.
80 Med Hannibal, 30 dozen Limarin. Beatles, Brian Epstein.
Okay, but I don't remember Hannibal Marvin or Epstein using the C word quite so much.
Discount Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
We're all rightfully focused on the human lactation stimulation here, but the real thing that freaks me out is that they emptied pretty much everything from this office, but they left the mini fridge plugged in? Okay, that might not seem like a huge deal in comparison, but who am I to play devil's lactation advocate when I get freaked out by drinking milk with Italian food? All the way off with that nonsense.
This is a great example of Discount Jeremy sort of admitting that his sin is stupid and then covering for himself by saying a bunch of nonsense that means absolutely nothing. In other words, he's padding the sin count and runtime yet again.
What happens if, I don't know, I do this?
Does Homelander have a stun setting? I'm pretty sure he knows how to pull his punches, but this, well, how do you just make enough contact to have the ears start gushing blood, but not enough contact to cause the head to explode?
Because he controlled the blow, like you just said? I mean, this dude literally has supernatural powers, but you're expressing incredulity that he can have superhuman control over his punches? Really?
Also, how does Homelander get away with this? Vought seems to shy away from outright making heroes disappear, or else the deep would already be sushi, so what are they going to do with Blind Spot? Tell him he tripped in between Homelander's hands?
Or say he died on a mission. I mean, we've already seen examples of Vought covering up their heroes' dirty work, and we see even more in the future, and we know that literally nobody on the planet can rival Homelander's power, but you're still questioning this. Jesus, stupidity is a hell of a drug.
The only reason you're here and not doing corporate PR for f***ing diva cups.
F*** you, dude.
Skip.
Also expecting me to believe that Homelander acknowledges women enough to even know what a diva cup is.
I mean, he's had relationships in the past, which could be where he knows it from. Damn, that was an easy and also very obvious answer.
3 of these texts have "just now" listed by them. Starlight has so many reasons to be mad at her mother, but quickly moving up the list to number 1 is that she doesn't tell Starlight everything in one f***ing text.
And that's not a sin because there are people in the real world who really do this. Why are you sinning characters for being realistic? It makes no sense.
It is. Don't want to get stuck with the cleaning bill.
Then may I suggest a different venue? We've had to blur it, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out the one sheet covering half of the bed isn't doing much to defend against the amputation orgy.
Except it does, or else he would have put down more sheets. Is Discount Jeremy suggesting that he knows more about this line of work than Gecko?
Okay, arm regeneration is cool, but the buried BDSM lead here is that he doesn't feel any pain. No pain whatsoever. This is a person that can regrow limbs and doesn't feel pain. This guy should have his own franchise and be played by Ryan Reynolds.
So the sin here is that the superpower we're being shown is cool. That's a bad thing? What? Also, Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture.
I'd keep the arm, right?
Why would you want to keep the arm? And yes, that is the most shocking part to me. Honestly, the rest just seems fairly armless.
What the? Oh shit.
Also, come on, man. You just watched this dude cut off somebody's arm to satisfy a sadistic kink, and yet you're questioning why they would want to keep the arm? I don't know, man. Why did Jeffrey Dahmer fuck the skulls of his victims? He's a sick fuck, that's why.
An extra grand, I'll let you chop off my dick.
I'm really curious about how Gecko found out his powers work with his dick as well. I mean, I guess I don't want to know, but I kind of do want to know.
Yet more padding the sync count and runtime by asking a question that has nothing to do with the story being told.
Also, let's talk about the hero's plan. Annie's been tasked with blackmailing lab tech Matthew into getting her some V and has been provided with his contact details by Huey. How did Huey get his details? And why did they pick this lab assistant? I mean, fortunately, Matthew has a seedy side hustle, but did Huey know that? If he did, why did he need to put Annie at risk? He could have filmed this and blackmailed him just as easily as Annie could.
Huey got information on Gecko because, well, that's what the boys do. They keep tabs on supes who could potentially be useful or problematic, especially when they already have a plan in place that they need to find someone for. As for why they're using Gecko specifically, it's because they knew about his side hustle. You asked why Annie had to do this if that were the case, and the answer is pretty obvious. She didn't need to. It's simply safer for a soup to threaten another soup than for a mud person to threaten a soup. Besides, Huey hates doing the dirty work himself. That's already been well established. Just pay attention.
He's broken every single bone in his arm. Broken half his ribs. I can't do nothing.
You got all that from a 5-second visual diagnosis? Is him in a soup?
Nope, he's a former field medic. Obviously, when he says this, it's not an exact diagnosis. It's just what he inferred from his initial observation.
You promised me you're only smuggling guns, cocaine and fentanyl.
Wait, is he saying that the people that smuggled guns, drugs, and even more drugs lied?
Yes. And why is any of this a sin? This all fits Frenchie's characterization. They make a point of showing us that he didn't bother to ask about their shipments because he didn't want to know.
No one likes being pushed around, but throwing a boat at someone wouldn't be my first answer if I'm trying to keep a low profile. Couldn't he have just used his powers to push the guy away instead of performing a very rare land-based kinetic scophism?
There's nobody else around this area, and the security camera would have picked it up if he had done something more low-key. This sin is completely pointless.
How about saving the world? Wow, unanimous strong reaction. So what is it about?
Nope. It's saving America.
If Homelander's just going to dictate branding however he sees fit, why is he wasting time going through the song and dance of a focus group? In fact, can we just ban focus groups altogether?
It's not that Homelander himself is going through the process of having a focus group, it's that Vought is still using them. It's hilarious to me that you still don't understand the fact that Homelander is not Vought.
I need you to go into the labs on 67 and steal me a sample of Compound V.
I can't. I mean, it's impossible. I'm a nobody there. I'm a lab rat.
Which raises all of the questions. One, how does Gecko know about Compound V if he's just a lab rat? Why would they let him in on the most potentially devastating secret they have? Two, how did Huey know that Gecko knew about Compound V?
Dude, can you please just use your brain? Obviously, Vought used Gecko as a lab rat for experiments that directly dealt with Compound V. That's why he knows about it. As for Huey knowing that he knows, it's pretty likely that he didn't know for sure and was simply guessing that one of Vaught's lab rats would know about their prize concoction.
FYI, not a real base. As if Homelander and Maeve are gonna eat MREs and piss in a ditch with the rest of the criminals.
Why would Vought be okay with Stormfront live streaming this marketing embarrassment to thousands of people?
You ain't John Cusack, man. You ain't got no motherfucking boombox.
Maybe not, but Huey will say anything to get out of a jam.
Okay, so give me the description of this guy.
About 5'10", 165, black hair, wearing knockoff jeans and sneakers.
Wait, he got all that from...
You got all that from the video?
Okay, well, here's a sin for MM's unbelievable eye for detail, and for Huey stealing a sin as I'm literally writing it.
Discount Jeremy, just like Huey here, is underestimating Marvin. This is part of MM's characterization. He's observant and is very smart in practical situations like this. Not to mention that it's entirely possible he studied the footage after they initially saw it.
Probably from Taiwan, maybe India.
Thanks for narrowing it down to 1.2 million square miles. You might as well have said he's from not here.
Wait, but didn't you just complain about Marvin having figured out too much information? Now you're complaining about him not knowing the exact country of origin for the target? What? Anyway, narrowing it down to a few countries is still better than not narrowing it down at all. Marvin told her that their suspect looked Taiwanese or possibly Indian, which rules out every single other nationality on the entire planet. That detail is helpful and is absolutely something that he should report.
Frenchie, who do you know who could do that?
I don't think any of us have a clue who did that, but safe to say it definitely isn't this brand new person on the news that we've just transitioned to that seems to have something important to say, because that would be weird.
What's the sin here? If he's trying to claim that this transition gave away the mystery, he's full of shit. You did not know that it was Newman based off of this transition. Don't lie to us. The guy who can't understand basic concepts of storytelling did not figure this out before the reveal. If he's not trying to claim that, then this entire sin was yet more padding the sin count and runtime.
The contract's up end of this year. Maybe it's time I move on.
He has a contract? I mean, the existence of a contract suggests at the least the possibility of enforcing said contract. Enforcing a contract against Homelander. Oh, that's good.
Dude, can you please just watch the show? In this very scene, Stan explains why Homelander is not the most valuable asset at Vought and why he can actually be dropped. This is in line with Homelander still craving popularity and fame, which is the leverage that Vought holds against him. Sure, he could murder them all, but then he'd have nothing. In other words, Vought can absolutely enforce this contract, which is what they've been doing up until this point. The fact that you disagree blatantly shows that you haven't been paying attention to the show at all.
What do you know about Frederick Vought?
I'm not getting lectured by Giancarlo Esposito in this scene.
I mean, we literally are, just through the point of view of Homelander. What the fuck is the sin here?
Frederick Vought, such the rising young star that in '39 Hitler appointed him chief physician at Dachau.
Oh, for f***'s sake, of course it's the f***ing Nazis. If in doubt, let's give the supervillain or super scientist an origin story with the Nazis, so that we don't have to do all the heavy lifting of creating a unique backstory.
Wait, what? So having somebody be a former associate of the Nazi party automatically makes their backstory unoriginal? Why? Care to explain? That's a completely arbitrary rule. You may as well say that having any character be a Roman is bad, and having a character who is a United States military officer is bad. And literally any affiliation with any organization makes that affiliation bad by this logic.
While you're preening at the Golden Globes, we're busy running around like maniacs trying to clean up the mess you made.
Mr. Edgar survives this. Listen, I love the gravitas that Giancarlo Esposito brings to a villain, but I still wonder why this stops Homelander from smushing him. Why does he always seem to restrain himself from doing any real damage until a season finale?
If you would pay attention, you would pick up on Homelander's characterization. Homelander has always needed a strong father figure to guide him, and Stan Edgar standing up to him successfully and actually making sense in doing so provides a sort of father figure for Homelander, in the sense that he's being scolded. Not to mention the fact that Stan is in charge of this entire company, and killing him would be almost impossible to cover up, and would also fuck over his career.
Why do heroes always have to arrive as if their only velocity choices are 0 or terminal?
What the hell is this, Sin? He just asked why superheroes travel at fast speeds and then counted it as a mistake of the episode. How? Why? Where's the mistake in this?
That wasn't meant for us.
How do you know?
Because our brains aren't all over the dash, that's how.
Why aren't their heads detached from their shoulders right now? This soup can apparently kill anonymously and from a distance, so why would she risk letting the boys minus Butcher get away? Other than we wouldn't really have much of a season 2 if they did.
Because she wants to lower Soup collateral and keep Soup in check at a smaller level while still letting Vought operate? In Season 3, we learn that Newman is playing both sides. She's both protecting Stan Edgar and Vought while also limiting Soup casualties. The point here is that Newman recognizes the boys as an asset so long as they don't go too far and are kept in check, which is what she was doing by killing Raynor.
I know when you're not telling me the truth, Huey. I kind of lived with it every single day. Don't lie to me. Not again.
All Huey has to say is I can't talk right now, or this isn't the best place for us to discuss, let's meet later, or anything that doesn't revolve around him lying to the woman he's already screwed over countless times. And he doesn't do that because Huey's a dumbass, and he'll still probably end up with Annie again despite of all of his apparent faults.
Huey thinks that keeping the truth from Annie will shelter and therefore protect her. He's wrong, of course, but he doesn't know that. This is an example of a character making a realistic mistake, which is not the same as the show making a mistake.
Don't you worry. Daddy's home.
I don't understand how bringing up a terrible movie starring Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell will help matters, but you do you, Butcher.
Discount Jeremy makes a pop.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Vaughn Giner, and I'm Vice President of Creative Bankruptcy for the Fox TV network, which at the time of this writing is still a thing that exists. Just from looking at your clothes and weight, I can tell you all watch a lot of free network television.